Laura wrote in and said, hey, are there questions about the show or in general that you hate answering? Yeah, one that comes to mind is I'll meet someone, okay, and they ask me what I do. And I say, oh, I have a syndicated radio and television program that's on 200 terrestrial radio and television stations across the country. And it's on iTunes as well as YouTube and iHeartRadio and blah, 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 blah. And after I say that, they say, oh, so it's like an online only thing? And usually I just repeat in the exact same tone as if I had never already explained it. I say, no, I have a syndicated program that is on 200 radio and television stations. And I think for whatever reason, people just can't conceive of the fact that this could be an actual broadcast show. I don't think that it's that people don't listen. I think it just doesn't compute when they say, oh, what do you do? And they see me and make whatever judgments they make based on whatever, my physical appearance or my casual nature or whatever. And I say, it's a nationally syndicated program on 200 stations. I just don't think it computes. They're like, oh, wait, what, broadcast? Oh, online only, right? They just assume that's what it must be.
Yeah, they assume you are a YouTuber,
right?
Which is a term that is often used as a derogatory term.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And it has been against us as well. Although, hey, what's wrong with being on YouTube?
Nothing's wrong with being on YouTube. It depends what you're doing on YouTube.
Oh, sure, yeah. The other one that's a common one is when I tell people, I'm from Argentina, it actually opens up, usually it's a few different lines of questioning, all of which are insanely frustrating at this point when I've had to answer these questions 1,000 times. I say, oh, I'm actually from Argentina. English is my second language. I grew up speaking Spanish, blah, blah, blah. And then the question is, oh, so do you speak Portuguese? Now, I know when someone asks me that what they mean is, I understand Portuguese to be the language of Argentina, so that's why I'm asking you. I like to sometimes, because I've answered this question a million times, pretend that they're asking me this question knowing that in Argentina you speak Spanish, as I've often recently said. So I'll just play it cool and say, no, I don't, and not actually explain because that's not the language of Argentina, and let people just stew in their own ignorance around that one. But sometimes I will say, no, because that's not the language that we speak in Argentina. That's one. I've answered that, must be 1,000 times at this point. The other one is, wait, how are you Argentinian and speak Spanish because you're white? At which point I'll take a couple of approaches. Sometimes it's, well, you know that in Spain, one of the primary colonizing countries of the Latin American Spanish-speaking world, many people are white in Spain. You know that, right? Or I'll say, yeah, Argentina is like 85% white. It's mostly European. And white people can speak Spanish too. And many countries have white people, including Mexico, Colombia, whatever. At this point, it's just so tired. And I get that if someone else is asking me, they're not doing it out of malice or because 999 other people have asked me. But it is amazing just how common the same questions come up when I explain to people I'm from Argentina.
Do you find that at first you found the questions to be a bit jarring and then you got annoyed with the questions, but then you reach a point where you just think it's funny?
Basically, yeah, that's usually the way it went. Well, at first I found them confusing, where people would say, oh, wow, like even when I was 12, so what is it? It must be tropical in Argentina year round, right? Because it's south of us. And then I explain at 12 to adults, well, actually, no, what matters is how far from the equator you are. And if you're 2,000 miles north of the equator and 2,000 miles south of the equator, generally speaking, adjusting, of course, for whether you're near a body of water or altitude or whatever else, jet stream, you're going to have similar weather. So in the same way that Philadelphia, the same distance north of the equator that Philadelphia is the distance south of the equator that Buenos Aires is. So although it doesn't snow because of the particular weather patterns, it actually gets quite cold in winter. And yes, there's electricity and internet access or whatever. But yeah, now I just sort of assume people have all these misconceptions, and it doesn't really rub me the wrong way anymore. I just sort of feel bad that people are just this clueless still.
Yeah, I don't really have to field questions like that in the same way you do, luckily.